Hi guys, I'm gonna do a few problems off of the properties of logarithm worksheet just so you can see a couple more worked out. I'm gonna go ahead and start with number one. Number one says that we have the log of 6 times 11. Well, since we're multiplying 6 and 11, what we're going to do is we're going to break up that multiplication using addition. So each piece, the 6 and the 11, will get its own logarithm. So we end up with the log of 6 plus the log of 11. And then that's the final answer. Okay, I'm going to do number 3 next, which is the log of 6 over 11 to the 5th. I'm going to go ahead and move the exponent of 5 to a coefficient first, so that goes out front of the log. So we end up with 5 times the log of 6 over 11. Then, because I'm dividing, I can break up that division using subtraction. So I end up with 5 times, in parentheses, the log of 6 minus the log of 11. I can either leave it like that, or I can distribute that 5 through. So it would be the 5 times log of 6 minus 5 times log of 11. And it makes sense that each log gets a coefficient of 5 because the exponent of 5 is raised to both the 6 and the 11 in the original problem. We're going to go ahead and look at number 4 next. Number 4 says that we have the log of 3 times 2 to the 3rd. On this one, again, we're multiplying, so I'm going to go ahead and break up that multiplication using addition. So the 3 will get its own log, and the 2 to the 3rd will also get its own logarithm. So we end up with the log of 3 plus the log of 2 to the 3rd. Now I have an exponent only on the 2, so this 3 will become a coefficient in front of just the log of 2. So we end up with the log of 3 plus 3 times the log of 2, and then that is our final answer. I'm going to go ahead and look at number 11 now. Number 11 is the log of the cubed root of x, y, z. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to rewrite the cubed root as a power of 1/3, because remember, 1/3 is the same thing as a cubed root. So I would have the log of x, y, z to the 1/3. And because I have an exponent of 1/3 that's applied to the whole thing, I'm going to make that the coefficient in front of the log. So I end up with 1/3 times the log of x, y, z. Since I'm multiplying x, y, and z, I break them apart using addition. So I'd have 1/3 times, in parentheses, because the 1/3 applies to all of it, the log of x plus the log of y plus the log of z. And then if I want to, I can distribute the 1/3 through. So I would have 1/3 times the log of x plus 1/3 times the log of y plus 1/3 times the log of z. And then that would be my final answer. So now on these problems, instead of expanding a single logarithm to multiple logarithms, we're actually going to condense or simplify multiple logarithms into a single logarithm. So I'm going to start with number 13, which says the log of 3 minus the log of 8. Since I am subtracting, I'm going to end up dividing, and it's always what comes first goes on the top, what comes second goes in the denominator. So we end up with, and it simplifies to a single logarithm, so just log, and then I just divide the 3 and the 8. So it'll be the log of 3 over 8, and then that is my final answer. I also want to look at number 14. Number 14 just says log of 6 divided by 3. Now, if you note that the whole thing is divided by 3, so what that really is telling us is that we have a coefficient of 1/3 in front of the log of 6, because multiplying by 1/3 is the same as dividing by 3. So then this becomes an exponent, so we'd have the log of 6 to the 1/3 power, but a 1/3 power is the same as a cubed root, so I would take it one step further and I would write it as the log of the cubed root of 6. I'm going to go ahead and look at number 19 now. Number 19 shows that we have 6 times the log base 3 of u plus 6 times the log base 3 of v. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my coefficients and I'm going to turn them into exponents. So in order to do that, I end up with the log of base 3 of u to the 6th plus log base 3 of v to the 6th. Then because I am adding, I will multiply u to the 6th by v to the 6th and end up with log base 3 of u to the 6th, v to the 6th. Because they're both raised to the same exponent, I can take it one step further and write it as log base 3 of uv to the 6th power. And then that is my final answer. I'm going to go ahead and do number 22 now. On number 22, it says that we have log base 3 of u minus 5 times log base 3 of v. So I still have a coefficient. So that coefficient is going to become an exponent on the v. So I end up with log base 3 of u minus log base 3 of v to the 5th. Because I am subtracting, again, we condense them to a single logarithm to divide, and I'll divide u by v to the 5th. Since u came first, that will be in the top, and since v to the 5th came second, it'll go in the denominator. So it becomes a single logarithm, so just log base 3 of u over v to the 5th. And that is my final answer. So lastly, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do number 25. So number 25 is a little more complicated. We're going to go ahead and deal with parentheses first because we're following the order of operations. So I would have 2 times, since I'm subtracting in the first set of parentheses, I'm going to divide 2x by y. So I'd have 2 times the log of 2x over y minus, I have to do a couple of things with the second set of parentheses. The first is that I have a coefficient of 2, so that becomes an exponent on the 5. So that will give me log of 3 plus log of 5 squared. This is still in parentheses right here, so I'm going to keep simplifying that. Also, I have this coefficient of 2. That's going to apply both to the 2x and the y. So I'm going to bring that over. So I would have log of 2x squared over y squared minus, in the second set of parentheses, I'm adding. Since I'm adding, I'm going to multiply. So I would have the log of 3 times 5 squared, which is 25. Then I'm kind of going to simplify a little further. So I end up with the log of 2 squared would be 4x squared over y squared minus the log 3 times 25 is 75. Finally, because we are subtracting, to condense it to just a single logarithm, we're going to divide. So it would be the 4x squared over y squared divided by 75. So that will become log of 4x squared over 75 y squared. And then that is our final answer. Hopefully that helps. If you guys have any more questions, then feel free to email, or maybe we can meet during a Google Meet session. All right, thanks. Bye, guys.